About 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, on June 27th, 2020, I became pastor here. And that weekend I preached a homily that I think caught a lot of you off guard. It was a homily about poker and about my love for playing the game Texas Hold'em. And I related it to the faith, but I've been thinking about that homily a lot this week. I've been thinking about it for a couple of different reasons. Perhaps the most obvious is that not this past Friday, but the Friday before, I was able to go play in a tournament that I used to play in a lot, a little low-stakes game among friends in a house. I didn't do very well. I was the first of losers. I came in 5th place, and we only paid the first 4. I was thinking a lot about that homily because when we combined to the final table, I was the chip leader. I had 60% of all the chips in the game. And in 4 short hands, I was the small stack fighting to stay alive. I think about that game, I think about that homily, and I think about this first reading. Koheleth warns, vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. Everything that we work hard, and believe me, I worked hard the other night for those ships. It comes and it goes. As easy as they stack up, more easily they are paid away. Vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. I was thinking a lot about that first homily that I've kind of nicknamed in my head my all-in homily. Earlier this week, I got fed up with looking at dust on like the blinds and the windowsills, and so I spent 3 hours, and every speck of dust in my bedroom and in my bathroom was gone. There was not a speck of dust Monday afternoon. And then I woke up Tuesday morning, and there was a fine layer of dust on my dresser. Vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. I think a lot about that homily, actually, not just recently, but I go back to it a lot in my own mind. That homily, if you don't remember, I explained that I like the game of Texas Hold'em because I like the thrill of pushing all in and putting it all on the table and being able to risk everything and seeing if it pays off. It's only really paid off for me once. I've only won one tournament, but I did it. I think a lot about that homily because of this gospel today. Someone tests Jesus. Teacher, tell my brother to share with me my inheritance. The earthly goods that my parents worked hard for, I have a right to it. I did nothing, but I deserve it. I share in the bloodline. Tell my brother to share that inheritance. I can tell you I'm in good company with Jesus here. Because there have been a number of times, whether I was serving as hospital chaplain in Cincinnati or vicar at St. Bede or pastor here, where people have come to me and complained because there's family tension and dynamics over money or property or someone's promised this or that, and I have to somehow now, they think of me as an attorney. Well, what does Jesus say? I'm not your arbiter or judge. But he poses this parable that makes me think again back to that all-in homily, where this man, he has all this wheat, and it can't fit into his barns. So in his foolishness, he tears down his barns. He spends money to tear down the barns so to pack it full of wheat and other goods that he cannot consume in the short term. And he says, I'm great. I have made for life, 20, 30, 40 years. I'm good. I finally have saved up for retirement. You fool. You're going to die tonight. And all that stuff that you have saved up, where's it going to go? To someone else that didn't work for it, that may even be operating out of a sense of entitlement, selfish, maybe even ungrateful. After all, that's why arbitrators exist, because of people fighting over what they want to keep. If people just got along, we wouldn't need arbitrators and attorneys and judges. But this is what happens, is that we fight so hard to hold on to little temporal things. We fight so hard over the little minutia that doesn't matter. We fight so hard to make sure that my preferences are known and obeyed. We fight so hard to make sure that the stuff that I think is going to make me happy stays in my possession. We fight so hard for the house of our dreams, for the car that we dreamed of in our youth. We fight so hard for the friends that we want, the reputation that we think we deserve. We fight so hard for the recognition. We fight so hard for all of this stuff. And you know what? A pandemic could hit. A hurricane can destroy it. I could fall ill and lose my looks. Not that I have any to begin with. I could die tonight. I'm only 30. I could die tonight. That's a real reality. But we fight so hard for the little things. I don't think it's unknown that I have a decent social media presence, and I put a lot of effort into what I put up there. You know, I have someone that helps me film and edit video and distribute them all properly. And I work hard to try to propagate things. I put out a lot out there to try to help people, right? I put out videos on how to pray, how to navigate the spiritual life. I put videos out on how to seek happiness following the Beatitudes. All of these homilies are recorded right there. You know, I put all this stuff out. Why do I do all of this? Because I'm your pastor. I put it out there because I'm your pastor. And when I was entrusted with the authority of a pastor, my one job is this: your sanctification. To govern this parish, to teach you the faith, that you may be sanctified, that you may find heaven. And I understand that that's my role. And I also understand my role in these terms of poker. Christ moves all in on the table, so to speak. And I've attempted to call him. And now my job at pastor is to invite, convince, persuade you to call that bet. To convince you to put everything out there on the table. To say, yes, Lord, I will follow you with everything that I have. I'm holding nothing back. There's no little poker chip in my sleeve, right? I'm not hiding anything in my pockets. I'm giving you everything. I'm risking everything that I have so that the day comes when you ask me to sacrifice for you, it's already on the table. It's a no-brainer. We love to talk about the martyrs, right? How brave and courageous they are to go to death for the life of the faith. But they didn't just wake up that morning and decide to be a martyr. They lived lives in preparation of that. Right? I don't just come to the end of my life with someone threatening me and saying, deny Christ or I'll kill you. And I'm like, okay, out of the blue, here's my decision to die a martyr's death. But it comes from years of learning that my faith is the most important. Right? If I can't give up meat on Fridays, how can I give up my life when the sword is at my neck? If I can't give up 60 minutes every Sunday or 65 when the homily is long, how can I be expected to die for my faith when there's a gun to my temple? If I can't dedicate time every day to pray, how do I expect at the end of my life to choose God over life itself? If I choose money and friends and pleasure and fun and entertainment over God, how will I ever choose God over my own life? I have to live a life with everything on the table, ready to be ready to be lost if necessary. I have to spend my life for God every day, not just at the end. But we hold on so tightly with a grip of desperation to those little things that don't matter. And my evidence of this is very explicit. There's been a few times where I've posted things on Facebook or Instagram or wherever I put it, and it's something small and controversial, not even real controversy. And people lose their minds because I challenged them a little bit, not even in significant matters. Or people come to me and they say, Father, my faith is weak. And I ask them, when's the last time you went to Mass? Oh, 3 months ago. Then start going to Mass. Father, you just don't understand. I'm too busy. Then I don't know what to do to help you. Father, you really don't know how to pray. When's the last time you prayed? Oh, well, it's been a couple of months. Here's what I want you to do. Wake up 30 minutes early and pray every day. Father, I can't do that. That's just too much time. Okay, then stay up 30 minutes late at night and turn everything off and open your Bible and just sit in God's presence. No, Father, you're asking too much of me. Well, then come here at 6:30 on the first and third Monday of every month, and I'll help you. We'll pray together. I'll lead you in prayer. No, Father, Monday evenings, I do whatever. We make excuses, and we hold on so desperately to our little preferences. But those posts that I talked about where, there's good production value and there's real meat and substance, the meat and potatoes of faith, though the small little fighty issues get 120 shares, the article that I wrote on spiritual consolation and how God uses it got 34 reads and only 7 shares. And so I dared to put out on Facebook, never do this. I dared to put out on Facebook the question, why? Why do you pay attention to this small matter and not this matter of prayer and faith? And my aunt answered it, to my shock. She put me in my place. I'll admit it. And she said, Father, she calls me Father, it's weird. She said, Father, it's because it's easier for us to argue about what we like and what preference we want. Rather, it is to look in the mirror and see where we're desperate for God, where we need conversion and healing and change. She said, Father, maybe you should teach us to do that. Okay, fine. Aunt Mary, I got you. But I think there's a real reality to that. I think that's true. It's hard for us to accept correction, or it's hard for us to look in the mirror and see our faults. It's hard for us. It's hard for me to see where I need healing, to see where I'm lacking in something, to see where I need help. But it's so important. Because when I live my life saying that I don't need to change, when I live my life saying, how dare anyone correct me or call me to something greater, when I live my life based on what I prefer, the way that I want things to be, the way that I think the president should do this, or the Pope should do that, or Father Nicholas should say this, I live a life based on me. My job, though, as your pastor, is not to establish my preferences for anything. Rather, my job as your pastor is to do the best of my ability to lead you to holiness, to persuade you, to put everything on the table and hold nothing back. My job as your pastor is to get you to call the bet and be all in, even though it might mean that you have to lose some things. My job as your pastor is to wrestle with you. My job as your pastor is to allow you to make me a saint while I do the same for you. My job as your pastor is to show you who God is and who you are in His sight. Preference doesn't have a right there. Because it's not about how I want to worship God. Because when I dictate how I worship, I end up worshiping me. But it's about doing our best together to worship God the way that He has established. Which means we give Him our entire lives. Which means that we look at Jesus across the table and we call His bet, knowing that He has a lot more stake in the game than I'm capable of having in the game. In other words, He has me covered. I can't beat Him. But I call Him anyway. Because the difference between poker and faith is that in poker, someone else might take everything I have. In faith, God will take it. But in exchange, he gives me himself. And that gift of God's self, that gift of grace, is where I finally found happiness.